It is. Yeah, I don't know anything about racing. This is true. You're right. You're in the wrong show.
Yeah.
You're watching the wrong show if you want to hear like super engineer stuff.
Okay.
And honorable mention, Alpine, because hello, French Revolution.
The French were mad at the Spaniards this weekend. That's for sure.
Yeah, the French were mad at the Spaniards, but the revolution happened at AlphaTauri. It looks like.
Yep, sure did. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing well. McLaren, man. You know
I know you must. Is
doing
that
the
better?
thing.
That's better.
Yeah, that's better.
I know. So excited. You know what? What am I doing? Where's my McLaren hat? That's what I should be wearing right now.
This is ultimate bandwagon on your part.
I know. I got my McLaren hat. Listen, you know they're my second team. You know whatever that means. I don't know where it is. Where the hell is? Well, whatever. McLaren baby, looking like championship contenders now. Better watch out, Max. Lando Norris is coming for
Yeah,
you.
I mean Max is only up by 99 points on Checo, so
That's it. You better be careful.
shout to Evan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, listen, I think it was a pretty exciting.
If you pretend Max wasn't there, it's
Yeah.
always an exciting race. You know, this is where
true.
we're at this point. Just pretend he's not there, and
Listen, for the first 5 laps or so, it was the Lando show, baby. It was Lando.
yeah, no, he took the lead.
He took off, man, from the start line. That was impressive.
Yeah, and the McLaren has been pretty good off the start, and the Ferrari hasn't, and so
that was a big. What a disappointing drive by the Ferrari drivers. But we'll get into that.
yeah, but I mean, there's all sorts of things going on there with the strategy again, of course, always. But yeah, the Red Bull didn't get off the line well, and then but once the DRS was enabled, game over.
That was it.
Which, by the way, I mean, we talked about this last week. Checo, come on, man.
Again, not getting out of Q3.
Not getting he didn't get out of Q.
I'm sorry, Q1.
He didn't get out of Q1.
Q1, yeah, not getting out of
Q1. And then
Q3 because it's the third.
Yeah, it's kind of backwards. But he didn't get out of Q1. But this time he didn't really charge up the field, even with in that car with that DRS on a high straight circuit. Like that safety car towards the end should have been oh, he's gonna finish second now because he should have been all the way up the field and he was yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
He was terrible. Yeah, and we're obviously gonna talk about Vries getting the axe later, but but there's potentially an opportunity here for a Ricardo to get the bump up to the big team pretty quick.
I think that was the latest, right? The latest that looked like he was going to be bumped up. He was going to be the guy. So
well, I mean,
they got 2 weeks to figure it out, right? So
I mean, Ricardo's going to be on AlphaTauri,
right?
But Checo keeps. I don't know how much longer they can keep him in the Red Bull.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the race results. Disappointing 6.
How exciting though, man, to see McLaren up there in P2 and P4. And listen, it could have been a 2 and a 3 spot.
Yep, safety car caught out because Piastri had pitted. Lando hadn't.
Yep, that was the difference there. But still, we spoke about this last week also that Lando brought upgrades last week to where was it? Where were they? Austria.
Yeah.
Brought those upgrades last week, and Piastri did, and it looks like they brought him with Piastri this time around, and you can see the kid's a hell of a driver, man. The kid's a really good
Well, I mean,
driver.
this is the first time he looked like it, to be honest. This is
Yeah,
by far his top finish.
He showed flashes here and there while in qualifying and some practices, but not in the race. Race pace was there. He was able to, he was driving under pressure. He looked good. I don't know, man. It was fun to see.
Yeah, no, he did well, and we kind of going right to the end of it. That last safety car, because there were two safety cars, and the last one where everyone pit, because the first one, some cars had pitted, some hadn't,
Right.
and that definitely shuffled the order. That the cars that kind of got screwed were both the Ferraris who had already pitted, and then and then George Russell as well had pit, because he was actually in front of Hamilton until that, and then Hamilton was able to pit under safety car, so that's how he jumped in front.
Right.
And Piastri had also just pit, so he got screwed in that first exchange. But in second exchange, the McLarens went onto the hards, everyone else went onto the softs, yeah, I mean, I know we were all side chatting like, oh, these idiots, they're gonna get roasted, and didn't happen. I guess they knew what they were doing. It's like the Ferrari.
Yeah, and it looks like Aston Martin's coming down to earth a little bit now, huh? I mean,
so let me ask you a question about this.
Well, Fernando Alonso's coming down to earth.
Yeah, I mean, Lance Stroll's doing his thing. Lance Stroll cut the track twice.
Yes, to gain an advantage, right?
Yeah, and they didn't give him a penalty the first time. The second time, he cut the track and just slammed into Gasly, and that time they gave him a penalty for causing a collision. So that's why he ended up finishing. I want to say, oh, wow, he went. Did he DNF? No, he finished 14th. He finished behind Logan Sargent. So
nice.
Not good for him. But I mean, do you think the Aston Martin? So we were half joking, half serious at the beginning of the year that because they stole the design from Red Bull, they're not going to be able to develop it. Are we starting to see that now? Because
it looks like their development has slowed down a little bit. And I think that what you're going to see is you're going to see the other cars, the other teams with their upgrades kind of catch up. And now you're talking about an Aston Martin that's still going to be quick, right? You still got Alonso, who's obviously, a great driver, but who's going to be able to do some things. But now you got all the other cars who are, the other teams who are upgrading their machines, and they're just going to be that much quicker. And I think that it's going to put a damper on Aston Martin and what they're doing. I think you're going to see them kind of slide down a little bit now, for sure.
Yeah, no, and again, they should have been higher up. This is the drivers' championship after that race, but yeah, let's. Fernando's still in third. He's only 16 points up on Hamilton. Yet Checo's hanging on off of those couple of race wins at the beginning of the year because he has not scored the points anymore. But he's hanging on there. But then, yeah, when you have to go all the way down to 8th to get to Stroll, that is where the
Did Carlos overtake George Russell?
Oh, I did actually. He would have already been in front of him because he finished behind Russell in that race. So
he finished behind. Where did
Russell finished 5th and Carlos got his 1
so
point. Yeah, he again. We should just do a whole section on Ferrari strategy again because that whole thing got off the rails. But this is the drivers, but then the constructors is where it's really going to start to get interesting because Mercedes has made a leap. Austin's still there. Ferrari. I mean, if they stop Ferraring, it'll catch up at least to Aston Martin.
They had a shot. They had an opportunity because they were quick this weekend. It just so happened that McLaren, I don't know, pulled it out of.
Well, McLaren were probably on bounce quicker, but Ferrari, and we can just talk about that in a minute. But their whole strategy just didn't work.
Yeah, the strategy was bad.
They strategized themselves into 9th and 10th when they were faster in the Mercedes in qualifying. So that's not good. But McLaren jumped Alpine, now 5th. So for context, McLaren got 30 points last weekend.
It's pretty awesome, man.
They had 29 the whole rest of the season.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
So that when you're down at the bottom, if you have one weekend like that, you jump way up the standings. So they're now 5th with a nice little cushion there because those teams like McLaren, Alpine don't really get a lot of points on a single weekend. So that 12 points that'll hold up for a while.
They could. obviously there's a huge gap between fourth and fifth, but I think that they could definitely separate themselves and be that fifth team without a doubt.
Yeah, there's definitely that opportunity. Alpine had a rough weekend, a couple of DNFs. Gasly wasn't his fault. That was the Stroll incident. Ocon, I think, had a hydraulic problem early on. So, yeah, not a good weekend for them. But all right, let's just talk about Ferrari strategy. So,
Do we have to?
well, I mean, yes, because it did move. I mean, so Leclerc was third when he was the first car to pit for hards, and it did not work.
No, the hards did not work at all. He couldn't get those things going, man, at all. At all. It almost looked like he just kind of fell back a little bit after.
Yeah, and I actually think that dictated a lot of other team strategies, and I'm not sure if if it was just the Ferrari that struggled on that tire, or if it was
it looked like a lot of teams did, though.
Because McLaren obviously did
Except
not.
McLaren.
And then I think the Red Bulls were okay on it. I mean, a lot of them didn't have to run long on it because they safety cars pits.
Right.
But yeah, so that threw him out of the running order, and he ended up eventually undercutting George Russell or right about there, because I think that's who was behind him, because George Russell started on the soft, so it was like opposite
And he was able to get a lot out of those softs.
Yeah, he was able to get a lot out of them, and then I think he came out just behind Leclerc, but then pretty much immediately passed him because he was on fresh tires, so didn't really work there. And then, of course, when there's no fault of Ferrari's on strategy, but the safety car timing just screwed them twice. Like the last one, Sainz had already pit twice. He wasn't going to take a third pit stop, so he just stayed on his used tires, which is why it became a passing frenzy on him, because he had old hards, I believe. So
yeah.
And then Leclerc actually took an extra pit stop in the last safety car because he was actually in front of Sainz, gave up position to get the fresh tires, and then ended up passing him back towards the end. But they managed their way into a 9th, 10th finish there when the car was faster than that. It was a disappointing race.
On those hards though, so I mean, it was disappointing all around for that.
Well, it's been a problem for them the whole year, right? In terms of their qualifying pace just seems way faster than their race pace. Part of it is definitely the strategy, like they fouled up some races, but also it's just like you said.
Not only that, like you thought, we all know that tire degradation is always an issue with these Ferraris as well, and so the track temperature was actually lower. It was really good conditions for Ferrari and their tires, right? It didn't get super hot, and so you thought, okay, well, this is an opportunity for Ferrari and their and their issues with their tire degradation to not be so much of an issue, where they can go out there and they can race and they can have some pace and do really well. And it still seemed like the complete opposite. I don't think tire deg was an issue. It just the tires didn't warm up and they didn't get going. They weren't able to.
So this was in the news section, but we'll just talk about it now. So Fred Vasseur said that they were scared of degradation, and that's what messed their strategy up. Do you think that's true? Because they definitely pit early.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. Well, Leclerc pitted way early.
Right. Yeah.
14th lap. So
yeah.
I think that's just a cop out. It sounds like a cop out. It's like, excuse me, you were what? Scared? Like how? Charles Leclerc is not scared. So
Well, I think from a strategy standpoint, saying they overcompensated for the day because they thought it was going to be, and then it just.
I mean, if that's the case, then you got to reevaluate what the hell you're doing, man. If you're scared, like you just got to go out there and you got to race. Forget about it. Don't be scared about using your tires a certain way. Don't be scared about
the other thing. I would question who they were trying to race there, because they were clearly not. I mean, let's be clear. The Red Bulls and then slightly behind, but the McLarens pulled away.
Yeah, they did.
Like, so it was really Leclerc was leading like the second pack, and I'm watching that thinking, George Russell's on softs, you're on mediums. George Russell looks to be quicker right now on the softs, but he can't pass you. Hold his ass up for as long as it. Why are you pitting before him? Because they went for the undercut, and to me, make him get off those tires.
Yeah.
Right? Because at the end of that, if they had stayed on the mediums longer, by the end of that stint, George Russell would have been dropping way back.
Yep.
Right. And to me, like, why are you pitting more quickly on the more durable tire? Because the whole gamble that George Russell actually correctly made was, I'm going to have more grip at the beginning. I'm going to make up places. And he was able to do that. But then Ferrari's counter to that is, I'm on a longer lasting tire. I'm going to be able to run these longer. So you're going to pay for it at the back end of this first stint, or you're going to have to pit early and do an extra pit or something.
Right.
So by blinking first, it kind of threw that whole thing out. Like, in fact, George Russell easily could have just pit right on one lap after Leclerc did, put the same tire as Leclerc did, and basically gotten away with starting on softs because they're now same tire. They both pit once.
Right.
And like, where was the penalty for starting on softs? But they didn't do that because the tires were lasting so well. Like, no, we can still run these softs longer, which they were able to do. I think he did like half the race on those softs.
Yeah, that was a perfect example of Vasseur being scared, right? Oh wait,
Yeah,
why is he lasting so long on these softs? And I mean, we're holding him up, but at some point, is he going to overtake us? And then at that point, by that time, the McLarens had taken off. They were already like 3 or 4 seconds behind. Then at that point, so.
Yeah, and I think Ferrari did go for the undercut. It didn't work because the softs just lasted a lot longer. Because I think they were thinking, you put the hard tires on, you're like half a second a lot faster because this guy's on old softs, and he has to go out at least 1 or 2 more laps. You've opened up a couple of second lead, and then it just didn't. It took several. Yeah, exactly, Evan.
Right.
It took. It took 10 laps for the deck for it to get to the point where Leclerc was actually running. Like, he started setting fastest laps right when the other pit started happening. Like, it took that long to kind of close that gap. So they pit way too early is the issue, right? Because they didn't let the softs wear out enough. And then this was also, in addition to what Evan's saying, the cooler track generally tires last longer. Remember, we talked about this last week. They brought that new compound.
Yep.
And I think it works. Like, it definitely, like, the tires didn't degrade, but this is a new type of rubber that they were using.
Right.
So I think that played into it as well. But for me, like, Ferrari, you had track position. Russell couldn't pass you. That's the fight for third. Just stay out there until he passes you. Otherwise, you're going to have an advantage because eventually his softs will fall off before your mediums. So make him make the first move. And then you can decide whether or not, do I even want to bother with his undercut? Because he was already on softs. I can run another 10 laps and then have the offset later in the race. Or, you have your options there. But by going first onto the hards, he kind of
screwed it up.
Yeah, he screwed it up. And then obviously the safety cars hit them bad both times. So that's why they ended up all the way down where they were. But it just, it's another, in their defense, it doesn't seem like they're capable of making a right decision. Like, whatever they do is going to be wrong. Like, there was nothing inherently. There's snake bit. There was nothing inherently bad about, let's undercut this guy and force them to pit, and we'll open the gap up because our out laps will be faster than what he's running on used softs, which were supposed to be going off around that point.
Right.
And instead, the softs lasted another 15 laps.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah, it seems like they're capable of making the right call there.
Unbelievable. We didn't even go through the predictions, but it looks like you got Lando,
I got nothing.
right?
Did I? I went with the whole. I did that stupid British thing. So I had Lando second. Albon third didn't happen.
No, and I had Hamilton second, but he ended up in third.
Yeah, I had him first. I think I had Hamilton, Lando, and Albon.
Yep. And let's see. Max Checo-Ham was wrong. Max Ham and Leclerc was wrong. I mean, Hamilton ended up in third, but nobody was.
Yeah, and Hamilton got that safety car helped him a lot.
It definitely did.
But again, but you know what? This is where strategy comes into play, right? Because obviously, George Russell, when he found out Hamilton was in front of him and had pitted, expletive on the radio. But that was the gamble you take for starting on the softs,
right?
Because Hamilton was able to run longer on the mediums, and then that put him into the safety car window. So those are the trade-offs you make if you start because remember, Hamilton actually had trouble when his tires went off, lost a couple of places, had to pass cars to get back up to where he was. when the safety car, the first safety car came out, which I believe was for an exploding Haas. So
Exploding Haas. That sounds like something I've heard before.
yeah, I think there was an exploding Haas there. So it was a Haas, right?
Yeah, it was. Was it Nico?
Kevin
It
Magnussen.
was Magnussen. It was Magnussen.
Yeah, and then the what was the second safety car?
The second safety car was
it Gasly? No, he got back to the pits. Wait, was there a second? Am I like completely confusing things?
no. There was 2 safety cars.
Right, there was. So
it was an Alpha, I think. I think it was. I think the Bottas. It was Bottas.
But Bottas finished according to the standings. The only ones that didn't were Ocon,
Yeah, but
K-Mag, and
I
Gasly.
think he did he spin out? I don't remember. Okay, it was Haas. Haas was one of them.
I feel like there were 2 safety cars. Am I completely wrong?
No, I think you're right. I think there was two safety
Because
cars.
the first one was the one that like screwed the strategies up of all the people that already pitted.
The
And the
first
second one was
Alpine.
everyone set their tires.
First one was an Alpine, and then I think the second one was a Haas.
Wait, but I thought Ocon got into the garage and they retired the car.
I have to remember. I don't remember now.
The one.
But I know there was
Yeah.
2. There was definitely 2 of them.
But I'm trying to think now. Man, this is.
There was only
this
2
is
DNFs, right? It was the Alpines. Oh, and Haas.
no, there was both Alpines and the Haas, but I remember Gasly got hit by Stroll,
Right.
but he got back to the pits, didn't he? Did he not? I thought he limped back to the pits.
I don't remember.
This is riveting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, if you watch the intro, you saw what was said. We're not experts in this.
We're not. How many safety? I'm going to find out.
I know. I'm looking too.
Let me see. I don't know. This is good. Show.
Okay, so all right, so Magnussen on lap 33.
Okay.
34 is the full safety car. Okay, so wait, was there only the one?
Maybe.
Wait, then. So wait, oh man, this is like.
Listen, De Vries got fired.
Okay, yes, let's go to more.
More exciting news here.
Yeah, let's. Wow, that was some riveting.
The first one was the VSC or the virtual safety car for the Alpine.
Well, it was for
but then didn't it turn into a safety car?
Oh no, the second one was the one that was VSC and turned. Yeah, the first one was an Alpine, but it was like they VSC'd it when it was just sitting on the track.
Right.
And so they had to bring the crane over to get it and all this stuff. So it took forever to clear the VSC. The second one was the
Haas.
Yeah, the Haas.
All right, there you go.
All right. Yeah, there it goes. Shout out to Evan for paying attention.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I guess we should do
longer.
I guess we should do the rundown here a little bit. Who was your driver of the day, man?
Lando Norris, baby.
All right, Lando. We'll go Lando. Yeah, I don't really know if there's another option.
No, I mean you could say Hamilton, but he
got lucky with the safety car. He was fine, but there's
definitely Lando.
I mean, if anyone else would be like Piastri, I think.
Right. Exactly.
All right, now disappointment. We got all sorts of options. I will say, shout out to me. I said driver to watch was Nick De Vries because his ass is gonna get fired, and man. I nailed that one. I was like, "This is gonna be one of." Actually, no. full disclosure, I thought he would make it to summer break because we're like one race away, and then
I
they
think
would
we all
fire
did.
him. But it was so bad they fired him before. But I did say I'm watching him this week because we're seeing his last races in a Formula One car, and there it was. But that's not really disappointing because he kind of did what was expected. So, which is finish the last of the cars that were running.
Yeah.
So who do you have for your disappointment here?
Yeah, it's gonna have to be. I'm gonna say it's gonna be Carlos Sainz. I just think that I could have said just Ferrari as a whole, but
Pobrecito.
yeah, Pobrecito is definitely not his best.
We're gonna talk about Pobrecito in a minute because that was just
Not his best
hilarious.
showing after winning this race last year. So, you know, ending up in 10th is not great, but yeah, the Ferraris again struggled with their strategy, and that kind of screwed them up.
Yeah, I will say that's the disappointment. I would say the disappointment of the season is when we come to these races, and like you said, Sainz won this last year, and last year obviously Max easily won the championship. So you're like, oh, it's another year of domination. You realize like it was actually a lot more competitive last year. Yeah. Other cars were able to compete on some tracks, like it was not what we're seeing now. So that's disappointment of the season for the. I mean,
sure.
So can we pick Lance Stroll? Because at this point, you just expect it.
He sucks.
I mean, but that's with an Austin just like not scoring points.
Yeah.
You could throw Checo in there just for his whole weekend's performance.
Yeah, Checo. I mean, Checo's a good one actually, just because he didn't get out of Q1. He ended up in 6th, and the car looked like it wasn't competitive compared to the other ones. So
yeah, and Max meanwhile was like on a Sunday drive out front, pulling in fastest lap, winning easily maximum points every week, and this dude's like qualifying in 15th and then finishing in 5th. Like that's not good.
No, that's not, and he's not helping his team out by doing that either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his team, it doesn't matter. Max can win the constructors by himself. I mean, Checo is still in 2nd in the drivers' championship because he banked a bunch of points early. He did say he knows what the problem is.
Right. Yeah, the problem is you, sir.
That's what I say. He's saying the problem's qualifying. I'm like, yeah, the problem's the driver, just generally.
Yeah, just generally, it's you, buddy. What else we got? Nick DeVries.
Yeah, I think we gotta pour one out for him.
Pour one out for the homie Nick DeVries.
Okay, so we did touch on this, like
the Flying Dutchman.
Why do you think they fired him now? Just like because there is a winter break coming up, which is usually when those moves happen. Why do you think it was? Why do you think it was so fast? Because there's 2 more races before summer breaks. I guess Belgium was the week after Hungary, but I mean, would it have been that bad to keep him for 3 more weeks?
Maybe because maybe you want to see what Daniel Ricciardo.
But from what to what end?
I don't know, man. I mean, it's weird that they did it now, but you know how Helmut Marko is and Red Bull is that they're savages over there, man. So, why wait when you could potentially get maybe some points out of that car with a better driver right off the bat? I don't know. I don't know what the reasons were, to be honest with you. I just think that they saw the writing on the wall and they said, why wait 2 more weeks when we know we're going to do it now? Let's just do it now. Rip the Band-Aid off and go. Yeah, that's what earlier.
That's what I sarcastically told Moni, but
but it might happen.
I don't know. Well, this is a quote from I was looking at this on while you're talking because I wanted to read it to you because it's hilarious. Helmut Marko has no chill, but this is from before the last race, so before he fired him, and they said like, "Are you thinking about moving on from Checo?"
Right.
Because he's struggling, and obviously the car is so much faster than like he's showing. And Helmut Marko said, "There's no one available who could replace Perez. He performs well in the races. In contrast to Nick DeVries."
Oof. I'm telling you.
Keep in mind. This is before the British Grand Prix. This is before he fired him. He actually says that.
Writing was on the wall there for him.
Writing was definitely on the wall there. I thought that was a fake quote. I checked it with 5 sources. They weren't even asking about Nick DeVries. Just like Nick DeVries was just calling his realtor already because he knew it was coming, mind his own business, and he catches a stray there.
Yeah, that was rough, man. Poor guy. But
I mean, so here's the thing with Nick DeVries. He's what was he, 27, 28? I forget, but he's definitely older for a rookie driver. He had never been in F1. Is not really considered as someone that was like, oh, you got to get this guy to F1.
Right.
He got one substitute race last year, did well. All of a sudden, he's in Formula One. This is a man that never should have been in Formula One, and I think, if someone's been driving in junior series and all that, and then professionally for that long, and never made it up to Formula One, probably doesn't have it. And it was kind of a weird.
Go work for F1 TV, man.
Well, now he can, because he can now be Formula One driver. Nick DeVries before that, like GP3 or whatever, does not get you the juice. But now he's a Formula One driver. Formula One driver, so he can do all the.
Go hang out with Joe.
Well, actually, he can go. He can go do the. Should definitely be able to work on Dutch TV, right? Because
for sure,
he can just do the. I was sort of in the sister team I was in the sister team to Max, so he can just bring that angle.
So Evan says here that he's also dealing with a lawsuit. That's
for what?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that.
All right, hold on.
That's pretty interesting.
Nick DeVries.
But on a lighter note, it's Danny Rick time, baby. Danny Ricciardo takes over his seat in AlphaTauri. So now you do get to see Danny Ricciardo drive an F1 car again. That's really exciting. I'm excited.
So let me ask you a question around this, right? So obviously, like, you got to feel that before they hired Nick DeVries, he could have had that drive if he wanted it. Like,
true.
What do you think changed? Because there's no way that, like, because we talked about this in the offseason, but it kind of felt like, okay, they're gonna he's got to pay his sponsor. Anyway, but you got to figure, for those that aren't aware,
he's got to pay his sponsor.
A lot of the drivers are they're driving these cars because they have sponsors that, like, I'll sponsor a team or give the team money or whatever.
Right.
I'm assuming that there was some kind of thing in his contract that, he needed to be there the whole year.
Well, of course now it's going to affect him.
Yeah. So, but I'm not sure exactly the details on that. But so, do you think Danny Rick was just like bit away for a little bit and was like, "Oh no, I want to drive now. I'll drive anything"? Because there's no way, right, that he was like, "Oh, I'll drive the AlphaTauri." Next, he's like, "No, we're gonna go Nick DeVries."
You think he would have said no if he didn't want to drive? Like, do you think he would?
No, I do think I guess my question is, do you think he wanted this seat the whole time, or now that he's been on the sidelines for about half the season, he's like, I'll drive anything? Because you got to, I mean, at least in my opinion, if at the end of last year he goes, I will drive that AlphaTauri, there's no Nick DeVries happening.
Yeah, I think that initially what he wanted to do was exactly what he did, right? Was be a reserve driver, kind of chill, like we kept saying, right? Chill at the Red Bull parties and have a good time. And then as Nick DeVries kept sucking it up, and now Checo's kind of, driving like crap also, he started to maybe get that itch again. It's like, man, I can drive better than these guys. Let me get in one of these cars. Let me get in. And I think that his competitive juices just kind of took the best, took the best out of it. He's like, all right, I gotta go. I gotta get in the car. And at that point, it was just like, all right, I know I'm gonna be in that seat now at AlphaTauri, and he got excited. He got on.
So, yeah. So there's a problem with that. So as much as we've been, I mean, look, Nick DeVries sucks, but as much as we've been bagging on him,
yeah,
I mean, it should be noted. But to pull this up
they are bringing AlphaTauri did say they are bringing upgrades.
So that's them at the bottom. They are the worst car in the grid. Worse than Alfa Romeo, worse than Haas, worse than Williams. They have 2 points. They were both from Yuki. So this car sucks. So I guess the underlying question is, do you think he's got a shot at getting up to the senior team here? If Checo continues to, I mean, it's hard to dump a driver that's got as many points as Checo accumulated, but they're all
Yeah, well,
They're all at the beginning of the season, right?
as Evan pointed out, I mean, Yuki's been P10, P11, P12, right around there that whole time. And I mean, technically, Ricardo's a better driver than Yuki Tsunoda. So if he could be competitive and stay right around that area as well with that car, I mean, anything could happen. I doubt they're going to swap him after the break, Evan.
Yeah, I think it's so hard to swap the second. I mean, he might not be second at that point because the gap is closing, but I mean, Checo's not so far down. This is not like an
If he was like an 8th or 9th, maybe.
Well, it's two things. It's two things, right? There's not really pressure because they're going to win the Constructors' Championship just with Max's points. So, like, what exactly are you swapping them for?
Right.
And also, I don't think Max really wants a competitive teammate. So, I mean, just to be honest, like, he's not like, oh, good, that guy will push me. Keep Checo's ass in there. At the end of the year, it'll be interesting to see because Checo's out of contract. But I don't know that Red Bull wants two competitive drivers.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's been news out there that Red Bull is having talks about having a kind of like that superstar team, right? Where stars driving for them.
But here's the difference between how Red Bull operates and actually it's more similar, at least in the past, to how Ferrari operates and not how McLaren and Mercedes ever operated when McLaren used to be, one of the big teams. Which is McLaren and Mercedes have always just get the two best drivers, let them figure it out. We don't favor one. Red Bull and Ferrari have always been, I got my number one driver and I've got my number two driver and I want to keep it that way. Yeah. So I know there was rumors like Leclerc or potentially Norris going and filling that seat next to Max. That is very much not the way Red Bull's ever operated. I wonder what Max would think about that because he doesn't want a teammate that can actually beat him.
But can Daniel Ricciardo actually beat him? Well, maybe. I mean,
Ricciardo probably not. And if it's McLaren,
but
Ricciardo, definitely
Lando
not.
or Leclerc, yes.
And that's something where, I think based on Red Bull's past, they're not going to get they would. I mean, I know he didn't beat Hamilton as Hamilton, but they're not going to put someone in there like Bottas used to qualify at a Hamilton like a third of the races and could actually they don't he was never going to finish it I don't think Leclerc or Lando would over the course of a season would beat Max because Max is a better driver but could they win races off of him? Could they get in his way? Yes. And Checo being out in Q1 and working his way through the field while Max is way the hell up isn't a bad outcome for them when Checo still manages to finish top 5, top 4.
That's true.
Collect the points, and then Max is unbothered up front.
Right.
Probably the best outcome for the way they do not like to have. They generally do not like to have these combative drivers. Like they won't have an Alonso and Hamilton situation at McLaren or Hamilton and Rosberg at Mercedes. So that they don't want that situation. So I'd be surprised if they went for a big name, which is where Danny Rick might make sense. Because especially McLaren, Danny Rick wasn't really competitive with anyone. So
no, it wasn't. But anybody could be competitive in that Red Bull.
Do you know what this is?
Never heard of it.
I mean, we've definitely not been the picture of accuracy tonight. So, Evan, I don't know what you're talking about, but it's probably correct, and we just missed it because we couldn't even remember how many safety cars were in the race we watched on Sunday. So,
what do we got left here?
We're going to talk about Pobrecito.
So that's funny, though, because there was an incident, obviously, on track where...
Well, first of all, we watched the incident before the show came on. If people want to, you can go look it up. But first of all, do you think... We'll talk about what happened in the post, where I'm pretty sure Sainz had no idea what he was even talking about. But what do you think about the actual? Well, because this is a straight where it's technically a curb, it's a straight,
right?
Curbing there, well, you would never go on the curb there, and Gasly had to go on the curb to avoid. I think he would have hit Sainz if he had continued on his line. Is that? Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
All right, good to know. But so, do you think Gasly was right that Sainz basically cut him off and forced him to go on the curb, and that, like, I guess he lost his momentum on that and lost the place, obviously.
Yes.
But I mean, so
answer, yeah, I could see.
So should Sainz have gotten a penalty, you think, or had to give the place back?
I just don't think it was that kind of blatant and obvious. I think that it was kind of just racing, but there was a little intent there, if you ask me.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. So technically, he's supposed to leave him. He's the trailing car. So Gasly said he didn't leave me cars with, but really, when you're overtaking, you don't necessarily.
Yeah.
It's the car in front that's got to at least leave you room to overtake. So he. On the other hand, he's coming up from behind. He could obviously see Gasly there, so I gets in his mirrors. Like, he definitely did not give him room to take the turn full throttle like he wanted to. But I mean, it seemed too close to actually like penalize anything on.
Yeah, it was too close. I think at some point once you saw him kind of creep up and get around him and overtake him, then pull that move. It was too close. It was too close. But yeah, there was some intent there, I'm sure. I'm sure. But it was just funny because after the race, Sainz was doing an interview for some Spanish station, and he came, and then Gasly came behind him. I wouldn't really call it a push. I mean, it was more like a
love tap,
love tap there. And told us, "Don't push me like that." That was funny, and then the Sainz,
the sarcastic,
sarcastically said "pobrecito."
Pobrecito. Which before that, if you listen to what Sainz was saying, he was like, "We finished 10th, basically."
Yeah, basically. Yeah, like, what do you think?
Yeah, it's like,
what are we really doing there, man? Oh boy.
Well, he was talking about how like all the cars passed him at the end, and he finished 10th, and then here comes Gasly up to him, just like,
it was a shame, man. It was a shame, but Ferrari
that was the sarcastic Pobrecito. Which, by the way, funny because after that incident happened, by the way, then Sainz pulled away. It wasn't like a situation where like Gasly actually was able to keep up with him.
Yeah.
It's funny that that's what he was worried about when his race ended literally when Stroll cut a corner and punted him and wrecked his car.
Anyway,
you didn't say anything to that man because I think Gasly's like, I might want to drive for Aston Martin one day, and I'm not going to say
for real.
His dad owns the team. I'm not talking to him.
Nope.
Because if there's anyone, by the way, first Stroll overtook Gasly off the track. Then Gasly passed him back, and then Stroll cut the corner and hit Gasly and knocked him out of the race.
Yep.
But he was mad at Carlos for that, borderline incident.
Yeah. Well,
because you can't say shit to Stroll. You got to be in Daddy's good graces there because you never know. I mean, Fernando Alonso, despite evidence to the contrary, is probably at some point going to have to retire. So
yeah, at some point, right?
Yeah, he's not going to be, and then the seat next to Lance Stroll will be open, and you don't want to have pissed off Daddy Stroll there. So.
Daddy Stroll, I can't stand him.
I mean, how long is Lance Stroll going to be in Formula One?
Well, Lance Stroll soon is going to be sitting alongside Julian.
I don't think so.
Oh man,
I don't think
he's
so.
going to take over the team is what he's going to do, and still drive.
Well, I mean. Yeah, I mean, I could see him doing that. Be like, yeah, driver owner. But I mean, there's zero impetus to push him out. I mean, just
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He's gonna stay there.
But it's kind of sucky that there's like a. Yeah, we're making fun of Checo, but he's at least second in the drivers' championship. Like, and we make fun of Russell because he's a dickhead, but at least he can drive a car. Like, I mean, Stroll being in. There's essentially 3 teams that are kind of second or in that game. Having one of those drivers be Lance Stroll is just so messed up.
It is.
Because the other ones are
not too any justice there.
Yeah. The other ones are Hamilton, Russell, Leclerc, Sainz, Alonso, and this guy.
Oh, look,
Yeah.
here it is. Once a paid driver, Lando Norris propelled McLaren to repay his father's $44 million by securing his services under the gaze of rivals. Maybe Evan's the one that sent that to me. I don't know. Evan, I don't know if I have your number saved. I should. I don't know. Anyways,
If you ever need Margs on tap, you gotta have Evan on speed dial. Man.
yeah, I thought I had his number saved. I don't know if it was him, but I just got a text about it. That's interesting.
I mean, it's gotta be.
Gotta be Evan, right? It's gotta be Evan. Oh boy. No race next week. Oh, this weekend. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No
So
race
it's a week off.
Oh, it wasn't.
I mean, we're literally talking about our one listener,
Bernie's gone. I mean,
who we've hung out with multiple times.
Gus
I
is
think
gone.
I think like it was pretty obvious that was it.
Jeez, man. Jeez.
I mean, look, Boney came in to show up anyways, but the fans
Boney
are
didn't even
just
show up. Jack didn't even show up. Oh no, this is terrible.
there are random people watching the show though. I can see the view count. It's not one.
Yeah. Hey, if you're watching, say something in the chat.
Man. Yeah. Join the
Let's see
community.
how bad we are if you have to.
I mean, look, we got to own it for that not remembering where the safety. We had one job. We didn't have a race to preview for next week.
It was two of them.
Can you remember the 50 laps or 52 laps from Sunday? Nope.
Can't do it. Oh, he's on another plane again? Okay. Well, there you go.
Always.
Bernie's on another plane.
He's either on a plane or working at the airport messing with planes. There's always planes involved.
For sure.
Anyway, we got Hungary's in 2 weeks. That'll be interesting because that is a track with basically no straights on it. It's all turns.
All downforce.
So it'll be interesting because they have DRS zones, but the start-finish straight, maybe you can overtake. That's it, though. It's very much it'll be interesting to see how much that hurts Red Bull overall, and if maybe other cars can stay a little closer.
It's not going to.
And then after that is Spa, which is the exact opposite of power circuit, and Red Bull's going to win by 45 seconds.
80 seconds. They're gonna lap everybody.
Yeah, that one's they would, except that track is the longest circuit on the calendar, so it's hard that it takes forever to get a full lap on some of them.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm excited for Hungary just because it's a track that doesn't have a lot of straights, so it might bunch the field up more.
It might be fun to watch. So we'll stay tuned with that. But and hopefully we can get our third musketeer on the show next week. So we'll see.
I mean, you're still optimistic, huh?
Yeah, well, wishful thinking, you know. What are you gonna do?
I don't know. The second Lionel Messi shows up in town, she's doing soccer.
Yeah, everybody dips. No more F1. Make sure you catch us next Wednesday here at 8 p.m. Follow us on Twitter at F1_5 Reasons. And of course, you can catch us again on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel here every every Wednesday at 8 p.m. You're watching Hitting the Apex. We'll see you guys next week.